host, Justin, here with the February edition of Explosive Youth Ministry. And I decided I was going to do something just a little bit different. So we were supposed to continue on with our topic of diversity of youth ministry in this month, but I thought that I'd take a pause on that until March and to give some tips to other youth leaders, because in my inbox on Facebook, on my Instagram and my social media sites, even sometimes in my email, I get hit up from other youth leaders, not just in our city, but around the country, asking me some of the things that we do here at the Worship Center of Kansas City with our young people. So I decided that I would share some of those things and give you some tips that may help you in leading your youth ministry. So some of the things that I found in my experience of doing this, just to kind of give you all a background on myself, I've actually been in youth ministry for about 4 years on and off. And I found that this generation is a little bit different than the last generation of teenagers that the Lord had allowed me to lead. And with those, there's different things that you have to do. So one of the things that I found, besides, of course, being very prayerful and keeping your relationship with the Lord strong, so that way you can hear from Him and you can discern the times and discern what it is that God would have for you to do concerning the young people. One of the very important things on the practical side I found is that you have to be spontaneous. What the kids or the teenagers are faced with is they go to school every week and every day. They sit for hours and hours at a time. They listen to people lecture them. So when they come to church, we try to create a different atmosphere. So, you know, our experience here at the Worship Center of Kansas City, where I've been allowed to serve in this season as the leader of the Impact Youth Ministry, I try to get them on their feet. So everything that I do for the majority of the time that we're here, I try to get them up and moving, getting them full of energy. And I take different experiences that I have when I go out in public and I channel them into the church environment. So what do I mean by that? One of the things that I do here, just to give you a small clue into the things that we do, I have a countdown video that my youth leaders and I came up with. We came up with this fun set of rules that we use. And before the service starts, those rules are going on the screen. And at the end of the rules, there is this noise meter. And where I got that idea was, I love the Royals. That is our baseball team here in Kansas City. And I love going to the Royals. I try to go to several games a year. And at different points throughout the game, when there's breaks, they'll have the noise meter come on the screens and they get the crowd hyped and get them to make noise. So I took that experience that I saw there and all the excitement of the people that I really enjoyed seeing there, and I brought it here. And so now we have a noise meter here that plays on our screen each week to kind of get the teenagers excited about what's to come in our service. And then after that, of course, you know, we started off, we try and do some upbeat praise and worship. Another thing that really works with teenagers is simplicity. Don't do things that's overcomplicated. A lot of times, youth leaders, we miss the mark because we try to make our youth experience just like the adult church. And because we do that, we miss them. And what happens a lot of time is they're coming because their parents are forcing them to come and not because they want to be here. But I was able to crack the code. And so now our young people here in our ministry, and I've seen throughout the years, not just with this generation, but with the previous generation, we were able to create an enjoyable experience because the leaders were energized. Some will say, how do you get your leaders energized? You know, where there's clarity of vision, unity can take place. When there's no clarity of vision, it's hard to be unified because you don't know what goal you're trying to accomplish. So I find it very important that I keep those who are around me unified, that we are all on the same page, that we support one another. It is so much of a blessing to me that at times of being a leader, when you experience discouragement, you experience disappointment, those around me, they know my spirit, they know my heart, so they're able to say, hey, you know, bruh, I see what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to accomplish. Don't give up. God's got you and I got you. I'm going to take this off of your plate and I'm going to handle this for you. Those type of things are things that help the dynamic. And you say, okay, that's something that you're doing behind the scenes with them. So how does that affect the kids? Because the kids see, they perceive things, they understand, they have an understanding. So if you guys are not unified and not on the same page, it translates over to the kids. If you're not truly excited about what you're doing and you're truly not into it, the kids are going to know that you're really not excited and you're really not into what you're doing. So we want to make sure that with us, everything that we do is genuine. Another thing that I found that a lot of us are lacking in is relevance. The things that we do aren't relevant. One of the things that the Lord impressed upon my heart, and I used to tell my staff this 4 years ago when I used to do this, that you have to indulge yourself in the culture. Now, all of us are saved. We love Jesus. We have deep relationships with God. But in order to understand what the young people are faced with, you must take some time to immerse yourself in the culture, to understand what they're listening to, understand what they're watching on TV, understand what's happening in school, what's the latest things that's going on, even understand fashion to a certain degree, because those are the things that they're looking at. And to those of us who are spiritual, those things to a certain degree may seem carnal. But we have to be able to meet them where they're at. What did Jesus do? Jesus met people where they were and brought them to the level that he wanted them to be at. And so that's the same thing that we have to do. We have to go out and to compel them to want to come into a full relationship with Christ. So we have to keep it relevant. So I try to, in my lessons, I try to keep my lessons to a certain amount of time, because studies show that after about 30 minutes, you lose the attention of your audience, because the attention span is only about 30 minutes of a teenager. So I try to keep my lessons to about 25 to 30 minutes, no longer than that. If I go longer than that, then I know that I've missed them. No matter how good it is, I know that I've lost the audience for the night, because I've went over that time. So I try to do that. Another thing that I do is I try to keep icebreakers. I may do an icebreaker activity. Well, I'll give you an example. This past week we did an improv, and I did 2 different groups of improv, kind of like whose line is this? And when I did that, it kind of got some excitement, and the kids really enjoyed and loved it. And those are things that I do. Different things to make it spontaneous, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, so that when they come in here, they don't get into a routine of what to expect. Now, they may expect a certain flow. They know that there's a certain order that the service is going to go in when we come here on Wednesday nights, but they never know what's going to happen. So therefore, their anticipation and excitement is up, because they don't know what to expect when they come in these doors. Now, some of you all may ask, okay, you are at a larger church, or what you all consider a larger church. So how can that work for me? I've got maybe 15 kids. Our church has a congregation of maybe about 150 people. So what can I do even on a smaller scale that will help me in youth ministry? All those things that I said are relevant to any size of youth ministry. You just have to make it work for you. It's just like the personalities of each and every one of us as people. God gives us all similarities, but he didn't make carbon copies. So there is no copy of who you are. You are individually you. And so that's the same with your youth ministry. So you have to take these things, or these tools and these keys, and cater it towards your youth ministry. So you may not be on the scale of ours here. Our room, if it's at full capacity, is designed to be able to seat 433 people in here. So at full capacity, we could seat 400 people in here. So if we had 400 people, of course, the large way that we do things, as far as I have to do it like a church service, you may not have to do that, because you have a smaller amount of teenagers coming in there. So you have more opportunity to branch off and to do group discussions and round tables, and you can do a circle. Those things help, because they build a sense of community. They build a sense of togetherness, and the young people enjoy that. Young people want the opportunity to be able to express themselves. Because like I said, when they go to school, they're being talked at all day. When they come to church, they're being talked at. When they go home, they're being talked at. So we want to create a ground or a place that they can truly express themselves, but in expressing themselves, they're able to get knowledge and understanding. I am a firm believer of doing panel discussions, of doing round tables, of breaking off into small groups. And like I said, just change it up. Don't keep doing the same thing. If you keep doing the same thing, like I said, you get into a place of where it becomes religious, it becomes routine, and you're going to lose the attention of the young people. They're going to go to the place of what I call here in Kansas City, because it's a trend. I'm glad that we have been able to break break past that trend, but there's a trend, I call it the zombie syndrome, where no matter what you say or do, the kids they just stare at you and they just look at you like zombies. They're just lifeless and emotionless. So in order to break that, you have to find those areas that they are really interested in and hone in on those things. So if a group discussion is what really gets their attention, that's the area to go in. So you can't be discouraged or want to quit based off of the things that disappoint you. I've learned that the things that disappoint you have to be channeled into challenges for you to do better. So if you are disappointed by the response that you're getting from the teenagers, do a self-evaluation and say, okay, am I looking at this thing from the eyes of a teenager and what they would like to see if they were coming to church? Or have I forgotten with age what it's like to be a teenager and what they're expecting to get out of the experience when they come here? So when you put yourself in their shoes, it helps you to understand what they're looking for. That way you know what to do to provide it. And make sure, again, that your staff does all that they can to provide it. That's why one of the things that I do, I have people of all ages on our staff, but I make sure, if they have children in here and they're parents of some of the teenagers, I tell them, when you come to church, your parent hat has to be turned off. And now you become youth leaders. So the way that you would handle things at home, you can't handle it here. So you can't talk to the teenagers like, I'm going to get you because you didn't do what I told you. Now it comes as you have to be that advisor or that guide. Let them be free. Let them enjoy themselves. A lot of people get mad because the kids are on their phone. I got one young lady in here, and I love her dearly. And I know when her mama watches this, she gonna know exactly what I'm talking about and start cracking up. That girl sits on her phone just like this the whole time we are in Bible study. And she pays attention. If you ask her what I've been talking about, she can rattle off everything that I've said, and she's here the whole time, won't look up. She's just here the whole time, but she can tell me everything that I've talked about, and she goes home and tells her parents about the lessons and how she enjoys it. And so I don't allow that to offend me or get upset. I understand, again, the culture, because I've immersed myself in the culture. So I know that they're going to want to be on the Snapchat. So one of our fun rules that we have is if you think you're cute, that's our second rule, then won't you stop and take a selfie? So, we allow them to take selfies and we encourage them to be themselves. But one of the things that we do emphasize is that we want them to show respect. I mean, we allow them to dance. Of course, we don't allow them to be twerking or nothing like that. But we do allow them to dance. So if they want to, do a little jig or something in here because we listen to Christian rap, or we find alternatives that fit them, we allow them to dance. We even have dance competitions sometimes, just different things to engage them and to get their attention, because we want to do all that we can to get them to be, again, in a relationship with Christ. So we do all those different things. We have a fun time in our service, but when that all boils down, then, there is a lesson. And I do teach that lesson. And I do demonstrations in the lesson. I do a lot of analogies in the lesson, because sometimes all of thee, thou, they, thus, and so are not things that a young person can relate to or understand. So I give a lot of analogies. Like I've been preaching and teaching on trust, because we've been doing a series called Getting to Know You. And the key that I'm on right now is trust. So one of the things that I was talking about is how the storms in life come. And I use this analogy that a lot of people have used. It's nothing, elaborate or wonderful. But I used an analogy of a palm tree. And I said, no matter how hard the storm hits the palm tree, that thing bends over. And no matter how the forces of the wind hit it, it keeps pushing it, and it pushes it, and it pushes it back all the way to the ground. But then once it's done, the wind is done, then it snaps back right in place like nothing ever happened. So just something as simple as that is something that they can relate to, because it puts a visual in their mind to understand what you're talking about. And to give a little bit more background so you can understand, I was telling them that as we go through certain situations and circumstances in life, we have to put our trust in God. And another thing that goes hand in hand with trust in God is having faith in God. And so I was telling them that even when things hit them at school, when things go on with their parents, I said those things keep hitting them and they keep pushing you and they're pushing you and pushing you to what seems like it's your limit. But you have to know that when the storm is over and when you're done going through the things that you're going through, when you're done going through those challenges, you will bounce back and it will show how strong you are, and you'll be built up even the more and set up to grow even the more because you've made it through those challenges. So see, just something simple like that. And all these things, I'm no expert. I am no PhD in youth ministry, but I'm telling you the things that has worked here for us, just a little bit, not everything. I can't give you all of it. I'm a huge proponent of training. And so one of the things that I do is our initial orientation meeting. So after those who sign up or choose to volunteer and be a part of our youth ministry as a leader, I take them through an orientation class. And so it's on a Saturday, and I do it for 2 hours. And when we come together, I take some of the things that I've learned in the business world, some activities that help with team building. So they deal with communication, with working together, and building trust. And I incorporate those things in. I take some time for us to do brainstorming and get ideas, because I realize I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. Even with the things that I'm giving you, the tools that I'm giving you all today, those still aren't even all the answers. Those are just some components that it takes to do this thing and to do it well. And so I allow them to give their ideas. We kind of go over the calendar of the year. I give them my expectations, because where there's no clear vision, again, like I've said earlier, there won't be any unity. So I want to make sure that they are clear on what we're doing, what attitude we need to have, what the expectation is of them, what they should expect from me, what we should expect from the young people, so we can move forward. And then after that, another training that we do here, we actually should have one coming up here within the next couple of months, is suicide prevention, because I believe that every leader should be trained to effectively deal with suicide on site before it has to go to that third party that does it, or the suicide prevention hotline. You ought to be trained here on how to give guidance. We don't use the word counseling because we're not certified counselors, so we don't use that word, but to give guidance or to give instruction when certain things like that come up. Another class that I do is a teaching class, because in my ministry here, I have about 25 people that work with me, and of those, I have about 8 people who have made the step to be on the teaching staff of the youth ministry. And so I want to make sure that they're, of course, not going to be carbon copies of me, but that they're able to relate to the young people, that they're able to deliver their message in a way that doesn't come off as judgmental, that they don't deliver it in such a way that the young people are like, I ain't getting with this, I don't ever want to hear them teach again. I want to make sure that they are properly trained. So I do a lot of trainings, and I believe that you as youth leaders should do that. Rally together, do things that kind of hype up the excitement. One of the things that we did here was when I relaunched the youth ministry, I shut it down for about two and a half weeks. And we rebranded the ministry. We got a new logo. Branding is important. That's another thing that speaks to them, because we're visually driven. So you have to brand the ministry, brand it appropriately, brand it where it's appealing to them. I went and got us some Ragland or the baseball tees with our new logo on it. And for the youth leaders, they have nicknames that the young people call them, and a team number on the back of, who they're representing. And those things help to build the excitement of the young people. They ask me now to this day, when am I going to get my shirt like that? I want a shirt like that. So that was the start of it. We brought the Christian rap artists in here to gauge their excitement. And then after we did that relaunch service, I told them, so did y'all like this? And they were like, yeah, we liked it. And I'm like, all right. So how would y'all like if this service was like this every week? And they're like, yeah. And so now we followed through with that. And every week we've carried on just like that. The only thing different is where the Christian rapper is where I teach the lesson. Everything else is the exact same. And like I said, and from time to time we switch it up and do something a little bit different, so that they don't get stuck in the monotony of doing the same thing. Another thing that I make sure that I do is I meet with my staff every month. We have prayer calls every couple of weeks, and we pray together. We meet regularly to gauge the areas that we're succeeding, to gauge the areas that we're failing, to gauge our progress as it relates to those who have been brought back to Christ, those who have received Christ. We go over those things, and to get ideas of how we can do better. What's the activities going to be for the next month? What's our icebreakers? What things didn't work this last month that we need to throw out? So we communicate on all those things. We work together. We encourage one another. And on Wednesday night, before service at 6:30, we pray together then. We have a meeting then. And every week I print out our order of service or our order of events and how they're going to take place. So everybody on staff that's working with us, they know what I'm talking about. They'll know the scriptures that I'm preaching from. So if they want to look at the lesson, they can look it up. They know the songs that the praise and worship team is going to sing. They know the activity that we're going to do. They even know if our band doesn't play for the activity and we choose to use like a Christian rap song over the sound system or something, they even know what songs we're going to play for the activity. So down to the smallest details, they know what's expected. And each week I have a list of things that we need, different areas that we need. So if I need somebody in audio visual, because we have that. If I need someone to be at the door greeting, because we do have greeters and things of that nature for the young people. And if I need somebody to help with the stage, what I mean by help with the stage, so they bring the props and stuff up for the activities and they take them down. And when it's time to teach, they bring the table up to teach, or they bring the podium up if we're using the podium. And they know those things ahead of our youth service that, okay, tonight, we're going to be using the table instead of the podium. I mean, things that little, we make sure that every detail is covered because it's that important to us that we are effectively reaching the young people. It's not about anybody getting the glory. It's not about anybody getting the show. Actually, when we do a lot of our advertisements now, I've actually told them for our youth ministry, because I want it to be so much centered towards, number one, leading them to Christ. And two, I want the people to really see that it's a sense of community with us and it's not a one-man show. I've actually told them going forward, I would like to pull myself out of the advertisements for our youth ministry. I said, I want people to know us and us to be defined by the way that we serve and by the way that we love on the young people, not based off of whose face they see on the screen all the time and not whose name is always being called. So I'm trying to get us out of that place, and those are things that I can encourage you to do. Never make it about you. Never make it that this is my platform now that I have because I have this position. Keep it about Christ, and everything that you do, God will give you discernment. He'll give you wisdom. He'll give you understanding, creative insight, and ideas on how to effectively carry out the task of youth ministry. So like I said, this may not be a whole lot, but these are just some tools and some tactics that can help you throughout your journey of being a youth leader in your respective place of ministry. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if anything should arise or any questions on the inside of you that says, hey, I'm not doing this effectively. I thought I was doing it effectively. I never thought about it like that. Hey, can you give me some more insight, some more help for how you're doing it? I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. If you would, take the time out and email me at justinmackey0@icloud.com. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And until next month, this has been another edition of Explosive Youth Ministry. Peace.